You're listening to the Crew Book Club podcast, the show that challenges you to change your mindset through hearing about dope books. Thanks for hanging with the crew to get advice, ask questions, and gain knowledge with me, your host, Sade Hill.
What up, crew? What's good? Welcome to another episode where I read the books you should read but don't have the time to. And it is another week and a new month. We are in October, and honey, I will be 30 freaking 6 on October 16th, and I don't know, y'all. I'm just feeling like, okay, this what 36 about to look like. Okay, God, what we doing? And I can tell you, last week has been a week. It was some ups and downs. I was sick and trying to push through. And last week, I just felt like low key, I just felt like, giving up. I felt like not doing nothing. I don't know. It's like you get into the routine, you're doing all the things, you're being consistent, you're showing up, you're doing everything you can do to be quote unquote financially successful. I'm talking from a perspective of being an entrepreneur. And it was just like, what? Okay, God, like, hello, are you coming through, bruh? That's what I was kind of feeling last week. And so I don't know. Well, I do know. I'm reading my Bible, all of the things. And I was posting last week about shadow work journal entries, and I was talking about how I can tell when I'm a little off, when I'm not in my word. And I just want to make this clear. You can be in your word, but not really be really in it. Like I felt like I think last week when I was in my word, I was doing it as a routine and not really connecting with the word. And I'm saying it's better than nothing at all, but I could tell a difference. It wasn't like I was trying to avoid going deeper. I was more so like, why am I going deeper again? Because me going deeper has gotten me where? That's just straight up how I was feeling. I was like, God, I've been going deep with you. I've been doing all the things you've asked me to do, and nothing is coming of it. And I can preach, girl, keep going. God working things out in the background. God speaking your name in rooms that you don't even know. But when you're in the midst of it and your bank account looking real like, and you're just like, where is the next dollar coming from? And I'm just keeping it funky with y'all. Like, this. I was listening to another podcast, and it was like, this entrepreneurship is ghetto. Y'all, it can be real ghetto sometimes. And so I just wanted to like shut everything off and shut everything down last week. But my tenacity, my mind would not let me do it, because I know that God has something great on the horizon. And then just like that, I think it was Friday, I got these really beautiful messages just randomly from one was a friend and one was a person that I met a while ago at the ATL podcast festival with Black Effect Network. And they sent me this beautiful message about, it was like, I met you at ATL Pod Festival back in April at Pullum Yards. And she was like, this may sound weird, but I'm feeling led to sow a seed into your podcast. And also, I wanted to encourage you to keep going. God got you. He's already went ahead of you and graced you for this. And this young lady blessed me, and I just was just like, thank you. And I was like, I thanked her for her obedience, because I was really in a state of, why am I doing this again? Like, what? Not why am I doing it again or why I'm doing this. It's like, I know God wants me doing this, but it's just being in the trenches of it. It's like, okay, I mean, I'm not doing this for money. At the same time, God, you know it take money to live. so okay. And then that same day, a really close friend of mine that I've known for like over 30 years, my sister, she sent me a beautiful message, and she was like, I'm so proud of you, proud of you. Your growth as a woman of God, wife, and mother is so beautiful to watch. God is doing a new thing in your home. This next season is personal for you. Everything the enemy tried to take from you, you're going to get back tenfold. May the God of peace and the God of love fill your home, cover your marriage and your beautiful children. I pray for restoration of broken relationships in other areas of your life. Continue to shout out loud your love for our amazing Father in heaven, and watch him restore everything and give you more than what you have capacity for. I love you, my sister. May you have an amazing day. She didn't even know, but these two ladies literally brought tears to my eyes, and I just felt like God was just like, I got you. And he sent these people to confirm that I got you. I didn't go out and seek the confirmation. He sent the confirmation with a financial token from somebody that I only met one time. So it was just like, I feel like that's the who gon' check me boo moment. Which is the first segment of our show, because he checked me. He was just like, don't you question me. Okay? I got you. I got you. And I'm going to show you that I got you by sending not a stranger, but somebody you only met one time to sow into your podcast. And then I'm going to send it from somebody that you've known for a very long time that is seeing your growth. So I was just like, okay, God, I hear you. I hear you and I see you. And then Sunday, I go to church, and there was a message preached by my pastor's wife. And it says, Jesus uses ordinary people to bless others. And then, because, a girl was feeling real ordinary. Okay. But I know I'm special in God's eyes. And then her husband, my pastor, Tim Timberlake, preached a whole different sermon on digital, and I watched that, and it was from doubt to hope. And he preached from Mark 9, chapter 9, verse 17 through 29, and it was given like, he said, doubt is possible but not possible for me. That's how you move around with doubt. And unbelief is the refusal that God can't do it. And I felt like I was moving in a lot of doubt last week. And so to get these messages, to understand that Jesus uses ordinary people to bless others, which is full circle in that message, because she preached from the 5 loaves and 2 fish, which literally under a Woman Evolved comment, I had posted like Pastor Sarah J. Roberts was like, how God made a room feel so intimate with 40,000 women, just being who she is, an ordinary woman, right? How she sees herself. And it was just like, I had made a comment and I said, feeding those 40,000 women was like those 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread. It was enough. It seemed, you may have felt like little Sarah, but God fed all of us in that room with the people he attached to the program, and those 40,000 women felt fed, and it felt so intimate. And she commented, she was like, how can that happen? And only God. And she said, only God can. And that is so true. And so to be in church and her to preach the message of the 2 fish and 5 loaves, I felt like that was just another confirmation for me. And then when I watched the video, because my husband stayed back to do laundry and clean up for me, because y'all, like, The house was like a mess, and he can tell I wasn't feeling good, so he stayed back to help clean up because he had to leave for travel for work. And so that was really helpful. And he was just like, you need to listen to this message. And so that message was really good, and it checked me. And it was just like, there was something he said in the message. Timberlake, he said, God will get me to where I need to, even if it's in broken pieces. And I was just like, okay, God. And so even though all week I was feeling doubtful, I was feeling like, okay, a little lost. By the end of the week, God had gave me so much confirmation and so much like so much confirmation. I can't even think of another word to just keep going. And so, sis, whatever you feel like giving up on, we got to keep going. Okay? We cannot stop now. And the enemy will make you start to question things. And the more we acknowledge the questioning of the enemy, is going to just lead to greater doubt. So I'm not going to even entertain the questions of the enemy. I'm not going to even entertain the questions of myself. I'm going to just focus on what God say and the confirmation that he has already given me. And I liked how my pastor also was like, notice what you talk about the most. And he was like, talk expectation, not experiences. Woo! And that really hit. So I'm just telling you, as I tell myself, that we are going to continue to move forward no matter what anybody say, because you're going to focus on what God say. Okay? So I'm going to just let that be the Who Gon Check Me Boo God Is segment of the show. I hope you caught all of those. And let's get into our book, because, honey, The 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth by John C. Maxwell has been some gems dropped. And I hope you have been experiencing the book just as well as I. It has been such a challenging book, because it makes you really see yourself on how you need to grow. And so today we're getting into chapter 11 and chapter 12. Chapter 11, the law of trade-offs, and chapter 12, the law of curiosity. Sorry, chapter 11, the law of trade-offs, and chapter 12, the law of curiosity. And let me tell you, the trade-off one was a pill to swallow. But before I get into that, I want to shout out to our sponsor of this episode, BetterHelp, where you can get 10% off your first month of therapy. And like I told y'all before, I don't tell you something or offer something or partner with someone that I have not used before. BetterHelp is amazing, because especially if you have a really busy schedule and it's hard to figure out the kids or figure out your work schedule to be able to sit down in front of a therapist. And I was a person who was like, is this going to be intimate enough for me? But honestly, I remember when I was doing it when I was working, and I would take my hour break and I would go into my car and I would be eating and talking to the therapist, because I just knew I needed to do it. So with BetterHelp, it's just convenient. It's so convenient, and you can do it anywhere. You could be on vacation and still hit up your BetterHelp and keep your schedule and all of that. There's a video call, or you can do just phone to phone, but it just makes it so much easier where I don't have to figure out how to get somewhere. It's easy for me to just park my car and have therapy. That's one of the things that I loved about it. So check out betterhelp.com/crewlove. The link will be in the show notes. That's betterhelp.com/crewlove. Okay. Now, chapter 11, the law of trade-offs. What are you willing to trade off, sis, to get to where you're trying to go? And originally when I thought of trade-offs, I thought of like the easy things. Child, no, these trade-offs hit a little bit different. Okay. The law of trade-offs, you have to give up to grow up. People will cling to an unsatisfactory way of life rather than change in order to get something better for fear of getting something worse. Whew. Let's get into it. And it started on, and I want to say this piece on page 176. If you want to grow up to your potential, you must be willing to give up some things you value. That is where it hit for me, because I'm thinking when I first read that title, it was going to be trade-offs that didn't have value in my life. But he is talking about the trade-offs that may seem valuable, but you need to cut that to get to better, but then we don't cut it because we're in what we think is better, because we think we're going to get worse, but what we could be not cutting could be keeping us from the better. And it makes me think of the golden handcuffs of when I think about, oh my gosh, I could easily go back to work and have a nice check coming every 2 weeks. Now I'm going to say a decent. I ain't even going to say nice. Because what I make in real estate, sometimes I be like, this is why I don't go back to a 9 to 5. Not saying nothing wrong with a 9 to 5. I'm not saying that, because I'm a believer entrepreneurship is not for everyone. But I definitely do believe it's for me. In those moments where I feel like it's not flowing like I need it, like I would want it to flow, looking back, I'd be like, oh, it'd be nice to have that little check coming in every 2 weeks. But the trade-off to that is, if I ever go back to a job, I will feel like I am cutting myself and putting myself in a situation I am conforming into for temporary materialistic satisfaction, like low key, because my basic needs are met. Do I want to travel once a month and just pop up and do things? Yes. But the way my life's set up right now, and the grind that I'm in and the growth that I'm in financially, I cannot do that. And I have to be okay with that, because this is the path that I chose, because I find more value in what I'm doing than what I could be doing with money that I could be getting every 2 weeks. I hope that makes clear sense. So I had to realize, what trade-off am I willing to take? And I can remember when I had a manager question me about coming 10 minutes late for 3 days in a row after you just changed my schedule, and I'm trying to do everything I need to do to get my kids situated so I can show up for you, and you checking me about 10 minutes. And in that moment, I just felt like, this ain't it. I ain't finna be doing 95% of my job and you praising me, but then you want to talk to me about 10 minutes after you changed my schedule just a few days ago. And I'm trying to accommodate you. And in that moment, y'all, like, I was really like, you tried it. And God was just like, this is where you don't need to be. And I felt like God made me so uncomfortable that it forced me to move, because I was attached to the paycheck. But the trade-off was, I needed to be doing what God needed me to be doing, you know? And within 30 days, God supplied one of the biggest sales that I ever had in real estate that sustained me for like 4 months. And so I was just like, okay, God, this is what we doing. And so I had to realize what was I willing to give up to grow up. Okay. So in doing that, it takes sacrifice. So I want to turn to page 186 in chapter 11. And it talks about trade-offs worth making. And the first one was, I'm willing to give up financial security today for potential tomorrow. Woo. And then Kevin Turner had a quote that said, the only job security we have is our individual commitment to personal growth. And I was just like, okay, the financial security, okay, for the potential of tomorrow. And I can tell you, I've made more money doing real estate, I do work a lot of hours. I do, trust me. But I find more passion in that than working at the jobs that I've ever worked before. Okay? And it has sustained. I think the most beautiful thing is when I want to go to pick my daughter up early, I can. When there's an event she want me to show up to, I do. I can choose to do that. If there's a family event or my husband and I just want to take a quick trip to Vegas and see Usher for one night and then come back, I don't got to check in with not a nail person but me. Okay? Number 2, trade-offs worth making. I am willing to give up immediate gratification for personal growth. Ciao. Learning to give up immediate gratification. Like, I told myself that I wasn't going to buy any material things for 6 months. Right? Whew. I remember I brought this really pretty fake tree because mine kept dying. And I spent like $200 something on the tree, and I excused it because it was going into my office. I was like, oh, it's an office expense. Child, that's a lot. So I literally took the tree back because my husband was like, I thought you said, and I was like, well, it's a tree. It's not a purse. It's not shoes. And he was like, And then I went to church and got checked too. And I ended up taking that tree back right after. So I have to understand, like, giving up the immediate gratification to do the quote unquote things for fun and quote unquote self-care is not really self-care, because it could be blocking the potential that I do have for tomorrow. And that immediate gratification can wait so I can focus on my personal growth, because I'm darn sure that I'm going to be more satisfied at 65 years old doing the work that I'm doing now than if I focus on immediate gratification. Okay. So then the third one was about trade-offs worth making is I am willing to give up the fast life for a good life. That was good. And then number 4 was I'm willing to give up security for significance. And I was just like, it's you all up in my business. It says the greatest men and women of history were not great because of what they earned and owned, but rather for what they gave their lives to accomplish. And I was just like, this makes total sense. Even back in the Bible, all the needs and things was supplied. The story, when you think of Job, all of his stuff got taken away. And then he got it back 10 times more, right? But we think about what he went through and all of that, and the sacrifice that he went through to show his commitment to God's love. That's when I think about the story of Job. For me, I don't think he got everything back, but I think about like the commitment and what he went through for God is just like, okay, I get it. All right. Number 5, I am willing to give up addition for multiplication. That's good. That makes me also think about God in a way. When I was reading this, it's like God is a multiplier. And I would rather put whatever I need to put in God's hands so he can multiply it, to put it into, instead of keeping it in my hand. So I think about all the things that God has asked me to do, and if I chose not to do it, he gonna give you a little bit, right? Because people think like, oh, if I'm being a good person and I'm doing the right things, I might believe or do what God asked me to do. But I'm a good human. It's like, cool. You might get some addition, child. You might get a little plus here and a plus there. But when you give it to God, it is multiplied. And so that's what I think when I read that number 5. It made me think of the 2 fish and 5 loaves. And I like how Pastor Jen had said it in a message on Sunday. Like, we don't know where the multiplication happened, But we know God touched it. But did it happen once we gave it to God and God gave it to the disciples to give to the people? Like, when did the multiplication happen? But what we do know is it came from giving it and not keeping it for ourselves, right? And so I thought that was a really good connection to the number 5, I'm willing to give up addition for multiplication. That's what I got from it. Okay. All right. So that was chapter 11. Okay. The law of trade-offs. Now, chapter 12, the law of curiosity. Now, this is where curiosity kills the cat. No, for real though. How do you cultivate curiosity? Because sometimes we might have the questions of why, but it's just like sometimes we just keep it moving without questioning anything. And so how do we cultivate curiosity? It says, number 1, believe you can be curious. It says knowledge, understanding, and wisdom will not seek you out. You must go out and acquire it. The best way to do that is to remain curious, ask questions, read books. My coach, she read books that don't have nothing to do with her business. Like, she read a book about opening up a gym. But little do you know, reading a book like that gives an understanding of subscriptions and to how do you keep people coming back and signing up for things. So, number 2, how to cultivate curiosity, have a beginner's mindset. Asking a lot of questions means being open and vulnerable, and you have no image to uphold when you do that. And I like that because it doesn't put you in this box, right? Number 3, make way for your favorite word. The secret to maintaining that is holy curiosity is always keep asking why. Just keep asking why. If you can't think of no other question, I guess ask why with intention to a subject. Okay? It says, number 4, spend time with other curious people. Don't spend time with people who, what do we talk about in Who Gon Check Me Boo? Don't spend time with people who only talk about experiences and not expectations. Okay? Let's go. All right? Number 5, learn something new every day. I don't care what it is, whether it's listen to a pod. Now, there's some things, I was talking to my CPA, and he was like, he finds a lot of good information on TikTok in small bites. See, some of y'all watching TikTok to laugh, but there's actually ways to gain knowledge on TikTok, okay? I know on my TikTok page, the Crew Book Club, I clipped some of the things in this book. So there's opportunities to learn anywhere and everywhere. You just have to cultivate the environment to learn. Okay. Number 6, partake in the fruit of failure. We all know failure is our friend. Okay. If you ain't failing, you ain't doing nothing. For real, for real. Stop looking for the right answer. Y'all, it doesn't always have to be right. That's what I'm learning. It does not always have to be right. Roger Von Oak said, almost every advice in art, cooking, medicine, agricultural, engineering, marketing, politics, education, and design has occurred when someone challenged the rules and tried another approach. You know, there's this thing in real estate where I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel. I already know the things that I need to do. Sometimes you got to think outside the box. Sometimes you got to do things a little unorthodox to get to the next level, and that's okay. It don't always have to be the right answer. Number 9, get out of the box. Oh, that segue perfect into that. Get out the box. Try something new. Thomas Edison said, there ain't no rules around here. We're trying to accomplish something. Sometimes, y'all, we just got to break the rules to get out the box. Now, I ain't talking about commit a crime. I'm just saying, just because so-and-so said do it this way doesn't mean that you can't do it another way. Okay? Don't box yourself in. Okay? Listen, number 10, enjoy your life. Okay? It says, when you enjoy your life, the lines between work and play begin to blur. We do what we love and we love what we do. Everything becomes a learning experience. And I think that's one of the things that keeps me from just going into a corporate job, because I really don't think that I would be enjoying my life. I will be portraying as I'm enjoying my life, because maybe that 2-week check temporarily gonna feel good, but long term, it's not. It's not gonna be the best thing for me, because I feel like I will be putting down what God has asked me to put up, and that is not a life that is worth living. Okay, so those were some 10 ways to cultivate curiosity. And I'm not saying everybody is not meant to be an entrepreneur. I'm going to say that again. But I'm going to tell you this. If you're working in corporate, staying at one level of comfort and not making a change in your environment, that's just as bad as an entrepreneur going back to a job that God told them not to. So sitting in a place where you're working and you're not working at your full potential, that is going to not be satisfying from years on out. Okay, so if you're going to be in corporate, find a way to ask God to how to move on his behalf. Okay, all right, so that is our 2 chapters today. Chapter 11, the law of trade-offs, and chapter 12, the law of curiosity, out of our book, The 15th Invaluable Laws of Growth. And before we get out of here, I'm going to definitely give you guys a challenge of the week. The challenge of the week comes from chapter 11 on page 191. And it's going to be the second one if you have the book. There's always at least 3 ways to apply what we learned in a chapter. But number 2 on page 191 says, it's just as important for you to know what you are not willing to give up as it is to identify what you are willing to give up. Think through the things that are non-negotiable in your life and list them. Then for each, identify its greatest potential threat and what safety measures you need to put into place to protect it. Okay? That is really good to know what you need to protect as you go to the next level. All right. Now, the quote of the week comes from page 203, and it says, the best way to make a sluggish mind active is to disturb its routine. Getting outside the box does that for a person. So I want to also challenge you this week to get outside the box, disturb your routine so we can take over the world. All right. And get out of that sluggish mind. Thanks for tuning in to the Crew Book Club podcast. It's your girl, Sade, and I will see you all right here next week. Hey.
Want to be a part of the crew? Hit that follow button so you'll never miss an episode. And while you're at it, I would appreciate you showing crew love by rating the show on iTunes and Spotify. Don't keep all this goodness to yourself. Share and tell a friend so your whole crew can be growing with you. Let me be the first to tell you, welcome to the crew.